Oops, I accidentally gave you guys a little behind the scenes. Why? It always does this to me. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dear Esther. I was told the first thing I need to do is decrease the volume because apparently it gets really loud. I have 5.1. Thank you. Ooh, do we do the director's commentary? No idea how long this game is.
Dear Esther.
Where's my subtitles at, gamer?
I've lost track of how long I've been here, and how many visits I have made overall.
Okay, no subtitles, sorry.
Certainly the landmarks are now so familiar to me that I have to remind myself to actually see the forms and shapes in front of me. I could stumble blind across these rocks, the edges of these precipices, without fear of missing my step and plummeting down to sea. Besides, I've always considered that if one is to fall, it is critical to keep one's eyes firmly open.
Comical, but I don't know what. Did you get attacked by a bird? I always prefer the high road. The shooter gamer in me. That pitfall.
Donnelly reported the legend of the hermit, a holy man who sought solitude in its most pure form. Allegedly, he rode here from the mainland in a boat without a bottom, so all the creatures of the sea could rise at night to converse with him. How disappointed he must have been with their chatter. Perhaps now, when all that haunts the ocean is the rubbish dumped from the tankers, he'd find more peace. They say he threw his arms wide in a valley on the south side, and the cliff opened up to provide him shelter. They say he died of fever 116 years later. The shepherds left gifts for him at the mouth of the cave, but Donnelly records they never claimed to have seen him. I have visited the cave and I have left my gifts, but like them, I appear to be an unworthy subject of his solitude.
A lot of...
There was once talk of a wind farm out here, away from the rage and the intolerance of the masses. The sea, they said, is too rough for the turbines to stand. They clearly never came here to experience the becalming for themselves. Personally, I would have supported it. Turbines would be a fitting contemporary refuge for a hermit. The revolution and the permanence.
Golden ratio? With a little bit extra? Not a math. I'm guessing all roads lead to the same place.
Crumpled and waterlogged under a stash of paint cans. It tells me that along with this present cargo, there was a large quantity of antacid yogurt bound for the European market. It must have washed out to sea. God knows there are no longer gulls or goats here to eat it.
I guess I saw everything the beach had to give me. Did I walk a little slower or no? This would be cool in VR. Being a little critical, a little early. The very we'll get there when we get there kind of game, isn't it? I'm sure this is defyingly cold. Growing up on a lake, you know, you get those harsh winds that come through and they are brutal. Switch mice.
Donnelly's book had not been taken out from the library since 1974. I decided it would never be missed as I slipped it under my coat and avoided the librarian's gaze on the way out. If the subject matter is obscure, the writer's literary style is even more so. It is not the text of a stable or trustworthy reporter. Perhaps it is fitting that my only companion in these last days should be a stolen book written by a dying man.
Where is this cave? Am I supposed to continue forward?
When someone had died or was dying, or was so ill they gave up what little hope they could sacrifice, they cut parallel lines into the cliff, exposing the white chalk beneath. You could see them from the mainland or the fishing boats, and know to send aid or impose a cordon of protection, and wait a generation until whatever pestilence stalked the cliff paths died along with its hosts. My lines are just for this, to keep any would-be rescuers at bay. The infection is not simply of the flesh.
Of the mind. I don't get it yet. This is a lot of philosophy.
They were God-fearing people, those shepherds. There was no love in the relationship. Donnelly tells me that they had one Bible that was passed around in strict rotation. It was stolen by a visiting monk in 1776, 2 years before the island was abandoned altogether. In the interim, I wonder, did they assign chapter and verse to the stones and grasses, marking the geography with a superimposed significance, that they could actually walk the Bible and inhabit its contradictions?
Wow, that is deep and fearful statement that you have just made, sir. I have no comment. With the way the world is right now, religion is not a safe topic.
Dear Esther, I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, He'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life.
I was gonna say,
I would leave you presents outside your retreat, in this interim space between cliff and beach. I would leave you loaves and fishes, but the fish stocks have been depleted and I've run out of bread. I would row you back to your homeland in a bottomless boat, but I fear we would both be driven mad by the chatter of the sea creatures.
Talking about religion on the internet is like talking about the sword of Damocles above you. The internet itself will just barrage you. It's not worth it. So that appears to be a virus. Another chemical. Not too certain. Okay. The story about COVID. Thought that would have more places for me to go. Oh, got another path here. Path. I don't know how open the map is per se. Very pretty game. Why barbed wire?
I dreamt I stood in the center of the sun, and the solar radiation cooked my heart from the inside. My teeth will curl and my fingernails fall off into my pockets like loose change. If I could stomach, I'd eat, but all I seem capable of is salt water. Were the livestock still here, I could turn feral and gorge. I'm as emaciated as a body on a slab, opened up for a premature source of death. I've rowed to this island in a heart without a bottom, all the bacteria of my gut rising up to sing to me.
Oh, is the island a personification of Paul? Is this Paul or Esther? I like personification stories. Those are cool, but I'm not sure if that's the vibe I'm getting. It's the mossy walls. Must be humid. Interesting that this is so cut like this. Loading.
Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses, and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my Ordnance Survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turn-off for Sanford and the welcome brake services, but although I can always see it in my rear-view mirror, I have as yet been unable to pull ashore.
Going right. I was that achievement called Donnelly. Repossession in order of execution. Or am I Esther?
There must be a hole in the bottom of the boat. How else could new hermits have arrived?
Let's say. Never did he eat nor drink, and neither did he drink nor eat. I feel like that's just back the other way. Wouldn't it be? Nice, I can use my controller.
I had kidney stones, and you visited me in the hospital. After the operation, when I was still half submerged in anesthetic, your outline and your speech both blurred. Now my stones have grown into an island and made their escape, and you have been rendered opaque by the car of a drunk.
That's fucked up. Look at that maw. What the? That's a sinkhole if I've ever seen one.
When I first looked into the shaft, I swear I felt the stones in my stomach shift in recognition.
Stare into the abyss. I made that reference in the last game I played.
I've begun to climb, away from the sea and towards the center. It is a straight line to the summit, where the evening begins to coil around the aerial and squeeze the signals into early silence. The bothy squats against the mount to avoid the gaze of the aerial. I too will creep under the island like an animal and approach it from the northern shore.
Okay. Whatever you say, bruh. Very rocky island. I mean, I think most islands are rather rocky, actually. Older some.
The bothy was constructed originally in the early 1700s. By then, shepherding had formalized into a career. The first habitual shepherd was a man called Jakobsen, from a lineage of migratory Scandinavians. He was not considered a man of breeding by the mainlanders. He came here every summer whilst building the bothy, hoping eventually that becoming a man of property would secure him a wife and a lineage. Donnelly records that it did not work. He caught some disease from his malcontented goats and died 2 years after completing it. There was no one to carve white lines into the cliff for him, either.
I just see a ghost? What was that?
Inventory. A trestle table we spread wallpaper on in our first home. A folding chair. I laughed at you for bringing camping in the lakes. I was uncomfortable later and you laughed then. This diary, the bed with the broken springs.
Jesus.
Once asleep you have to remember not to dream. A change of clothes. Donnelly's book, stolen from Edinburgh Library on the way here. I will burn them all on the last morning and make an aerial of my own.
Don't burn books, that's fucked up. I see that, yeah. Am I following a spirit of some kind? I'll notice. I don't know what they mean. Whatever it was, it's gone now. Uncomfortable. Guessing that's where I'm going. I believe they call that a windmaw?
What to make of Donnelly, the laudanum and the syphilis? It is clearly not how he began, but I've been unable to discover if the former was a result of his visiting the island or the force that drove him here. For the syphilis, a drunk driver smashing his insides into a pulp as he stumbled these paths, I can only offer my empathy. We're all victims of our age. My disease is the internal combustion engine and the cheap fermentation of yeast.
Oh, you were the drunk. You liked cars and booze.
They found Jakobsen in early spring. The thaw had only just come. Even though he'd been dead nearly 7 months, his body had been frozen right down to the nerves and had not even begun to decompose. He'd struggled halfway down the cliff path, perhaps looking for some lost goat, or perhaps in a delirium, and expired, curled into a claw right under the winter moon. Even the animals shunned his corpse. The mainlanders thought to bring it home unlucky. Donnelly claims they dragged it to the caves to thaw out and rot, but he is proving an unreliable witness.
Oh, the ashes blew away. No achievement though, so I don't know if that was important. Does this have higher resolution? Should have tried to ray trace it beforehand. I'll keep that in mind next time I decide to do a more slow game like this. So desolate. Just the blinking of humanity every now and then against the buoy or the tower.
Climbing down to the caves, I slipped and fell and have injured my leg. I think the femur is broken. It is clearly infected. The skin has turned a bright, tight pink, and the pain is crashing in on waves, winter tides against my shoreline, drowning out the ache of my stones. I struggled back to the bothy to rest, but it has become clear that there is only one way this is likely to end. The medical supplies I looted from the trawler have suddenly found their purpose. They will keep me lucid for my final ascent.
Oh, where's somebody else reading the story of somebody else?
Donnelly's addiction is my one true constant. Even though I wake in false dawns and find the landscape changing, flowing in constantly through my tears, I know his reaching is always upon me.
I think that was the fall. The walking sound effects hasn't changed, nor has the camera bob. Gorgeous. Hate caves. Gorgeous.
There is no other direction, no other exit from this motorway. Speeding past this junction, I saw you waiting at the roadside, a one last drink in your trembled hands.
That's a circuit board, isn't it? Yeah, those are circuit boards. Am I crawling? you have any idea how slick this would be. I love the use of bioluminescence. That's really cool. More fitting. I wonder how this was laid out in Engine. They like drew it layer by layer. Somebody was here before me because there's candles lit, my guy. It's lit. Waited to see like a handprint or something in one. A little bit more of a more possible to not be you. No stories this time. I could not live somewhere where it's like you have to traverse these caves. No thanks.
In my final dream, I sat at peace with Jakobsen and watched the moon over the Sandford Junction. Goats grazed on the hard shoulder, a world gone to weed and redemption. He showed me his fever scars, and I mine, between each shoulder the nascency of flight.
Nascency of flight? Is this about the contraction of... Oh yeah, agreed. Is this about syphilis? Is this about going mad when you have syphilis? It's like a guy peeing. I know I can go up, but I don't want to go this way. Another octopus squid. I still see a circuit board. Paper boats. Am I stuck? Did I just stuck myself? Huh. Well, the paper boats tell me that there were other people here recently, because they wouldn't still be okay. No idea. I don't like that screech. I guess if I knew what that meant. My brain, it means transistor, but I don't know if that's right. Turns out they're like building a number station or something. Or does each person have their own drawing? And he's revisiting the island as an adult? Dude, that looks like a plant. What the fuck? Hate that. Hate that.
This cannot be the shaft they threw the goats into. It cannot be the landfill where the parts of your life that would not burn ended up. It cannot be the chimney that delivered you to the skies. It cannot be the place where you rained back down again to fertilize the soil and make small flowers in the rocks.
I'm going this way because I didn't like that other cave. Behold, Damascus is bakery, bacon, I don't know. Damascus is a type of metal, right? What does Damascus mean? Other than the metal. No, capital of Syria, Damascus. What is happening? Why am I crawling? I'm not. not answering my question to the why. I didn't mean to fall. Is this the highway? Oh, it is the highway. A lot of allegory here. Coins on a hospital bed. That's allegory, right? I can't even hold a constant 165 FPS. That's crazy. Character's struggling just to walk. I don't know if I'm going the right way.
The moon over the Sanford Junction, headlights in your retinas. Donnelly drove a grey hatchback without a bottom. All the creatures of the tarmac rose to sing to him. All manner of symbols crudely scrawled across the cliff face of my unrest. My life reduced to an electrical diagram. All my gulls have taken flight. They will no longer roost on these outcrops. The lure of the moon over the Sanford Junction is too strong.
Are you a maker? I think he was like maybe a failed inventor? Or no, I'm spitballing here.
Of fire and soil, I chose fire. It seemed the more contemporary of the options, the more sanitary. I could not bear the thought of the reassembly of such a ruin. Stitching arm to shoulder and femur to hip, charting a line of thread like traffic stilled on a motorway, making it all acceptable for tearful aunts and traumatized uncles flown in specially for the occasion. Reduce to ash, mix with water, make a phosphorescent paint for these rocks and ceilings.
This is some kind of like great honoring. shit. Something etched up there even. Don't know, I hate caves. I don't like caves. Caves are terrifying. What was that? Who lit all these candles? I'm guessing that's a statue. The other person moved. Is that a force of perspective? I'm just crazy. Oh, something's glitching out up there. Stomp though. Oh, there it goes.
There were chemical diagrams on the posters on the walls on the waiting room. It seemed appropriate at the time. Still life abstractions of the processes which had already begun to break down your nerves and your muscles in the next room. I crammed diazepam as I once crammed for chemistry examinations. I am revising my options for a long and happy life.
Right from heaven shone around him. Light from heaven shone around him. Got it. So it's a story of guilt.
From here, I can see my armada. I collected all the letters I'd ever meant to send to you, if I'd have ever made it to the mainland, but had instead collected at the bottom of my rucksack, and I spread them out along the lost beach. Then I took each and every one, and I folded them into boats. I folded you into the creases, and then, as the sun was setting, I set the fleet to sail. Shattered into 21 pieces, I consigned you to the Atlantic, and I sat here until I'd watched all of you sink.
Well, there are also some in that cave, so failure. JK, I'm just still trying to figure out exactly what happened. I have a feeling this is guilt and some form of retribution. And sudden a light from heaven shone around him and he fell to the ground. Is this religious? Am I supposed to read that as religious or Is it deeper? Is it allegorical? Definitely frustrating to try to eke out as much as you can from a story that doesn't want to present itself. It is presenting itself the way it wants to, of course. My own ignorance and misunderstanding. I try to
The pain in my
myself
leg
as
sent
a
me
smart
blind for a
person.
few minutes as I struggled up the cliff path. I swallowed another handful of painkillers, and now I feel almost lucid. The island around me has retreated to a hazed distance, whilst the moon appears to have descended into my palm to guide me. I can see a thick black line of infection reaching for my heart from the waistband of my trousers. Through the fugue, it's all the world like the path I have cut from the lowlands towards the aerial.
Towards the aerial. Won't allow me to go up that way. Interesting. I think it's a statue. I don't think that's a person. Almost like, oh, I can't go up that way. Here.
I've begun my voyage in a paper boat without a bottom. I will fly to the moon in it. I've been folded along a crease in time, a weakness in the sheet of life. Now you've settled on the opposite side of the paper to me. I can see your traces in the ink that soaks through the fiber,
it was a
the pulse,
hallucination.
agitation. When we become waterlogged and the cage disintegrates, we will intermingle. When this paper aeroplane leaves the cliff edge and carves parallel vapor trails in the dark, we will come together.
Was I maybe seeing myself? My lover, perhaps? The man I killed? Woman I killed? And as he was proceeding on his journey... All of the above? Was coming near to ending.
If only Donnelly had experienced this, he would have realized he was his own shoreline, as am I. Just as I am becoming this island, so he became his syphilis, retreating into the burning synapses, the stones, the infection.
A suicide story? He's literally got sepsis right now. Is that like a beacon of perceived humanity?
Returning to my car afterwards, hands still shaking, and a head split open by the impact. Goodbye to tearful aunts and traumatized uncles. Goodbye to the phenomenal. Goodbye to the tangible. Goodbye Wolverhampton. Goodbye Sanford. Goodbye Cromer. Goodbye Damascus. This cliff path is slippery in the dew. It is hard to climb with such an infection. I must carve out the bad flesh and sling it from the aerial. I must become infused with the very air.
What? So the journey came to pass that as it made my and was to me mystic ass.
I have dredged these waters for the bones of the hermit, for the traces of Donnelly, for any sign of Jakobsen's flock, for the empty bottle that would incriminate him. I have scoured this stretch of motorway 21 times, attempting to recreate his trajectory, the point when his heart stopped dead and all he saw was the moon over the Sanford Junction. He was not drunk, Esther. He was not drunk at all, and it was not his fault. It was the converging lines that doomed him. This is not a recorded natural condition. The gulls do not fly so low over the motorway and cause him to swerve. The paint scored away from his car in lines like an infection, making directly for the heart.
Still don't get it.
I am the Ariel. In my passing, I will send news to each and every star. Dear Esther, I have burnt my belongings, my books, this death certificate. Mine will be written all across this island. Who was Jakobsen? Who remembers him? Donnelly has written of him, but who was Donnelly? Who remembers him? I have painted, carved, hewn, scored into this space all that I could draw from him. There will be another to these shores to remember me. I will rise from the ocean like an island without bottom, come together like a stone, become an aerial, a beacon, that they will not forget you. We have always been drawn here. One day the gulls will return and nest in our bones and our history. I will look to my left and see Esther Donnelly flying beside me. I will look to my right and see Paul Jakobsen flying beside me. They will leave white lines carved into the air to reach the mainland, where help will be sent.
Bro, what? I think this is the story of a father who lost his wife and son and chose this is how he handled his grief. Not sure.
Come back.
Come back. There are multiple endings? I just kind of assumed all the paths would diverge into the same spot. Are they ever spoken about this game? My interpretation is this is a story about a father with his wife, maybe? Or a estranged son and daughter or something? I'm not sure. It's a toughy one. It's very poetic, it's very philosophical, it's very psychological, it's very emotional, it's heavy. Well, if you watched all the way through, let me know what you think it's about down in the comments section below. And this one's gonna be rattling around in my head for a while.